Welcome guys to this video where we're going to have a look at the idea of entering data and in the second part where we're going to have a look at formatting cells. So we're using the workbook that you should have had a hard copy of and also downloaded a digital copy of, and I've got this open on screen here. So we're having a look at lesson 2. So just moving down to the part where we're going to have a look at the idea of entering some basic data, some what are called values, labels, and later on some formulas. So we're just going to have a look at this F and G sales exercise 1. For now, this little screenshot here that I'm just putting in the middle of the screen is what we're going to try and reproduce. Okay, so you need to start up Excel. Okay, so it's done that, and we're going to start with a blank workbook. Now, before you go any further, you should save this. Okay, even though we haven't done any work yet. Okay, it's always a good habit to get into saving straight away and then saving as you go through the exercise. So File, Save As. Now I'm going to go to where I've got the exercises for this stored. Okay, now for me, this will be where I've got a section called schoolwork, and then I'm going to go to my computer studies, and then I'm going to go to my folder for 2784, and as you can see, I've already done some of these exercises here. So let me just get rid of that. Okay, you need to create a folder for these exercises. So something like 2784 exercises. Okay, and this one is called F and G sales exercise 1. Okay, save that. All right, now if we have a look at here, what we're going to do for a start, we're going to put these two headings in here, and then we're going to put the months across here and some of these other labels down the side, and then the numbers. Now I'll just start this process off. I'm certainly not going to go through every single little step of this, and I'm just going to arrange my screen here so I can see both the spreadsheet and what I'm trying to record or get the information from, I should say. So I'm going to click in cell A1. Okay, and you can see here where I've just highlighted is where you know which cell you're in. Okay, and clicking in that cell. So F and G sales, sorry, not sales, books and CDs. Notice that when you type information that goes wider than the actual screen, it simply overlaps basically the other cells. Now this does not mean that the data is now in A1 and B1. Now A1 refers to column A, row 1, so it's this cell here. If you actually click in B1, which is column B, row 1, you actually will see that there's nothing here. Okay, and if I actually click on that, where I can put the formula entry part, is what's properly called. Okay, you actually see there's nothing in cell B1. Where's the other information from A1 gone? Well, it's just sitting underneath B1 at the moment. If I click back in A1, you can actually see it overlaps cell B1. Okay, now you can actually make that column wider. Okay, notice how I'm doing that, putting the cursor in between the A column and the B column. Notice how the cursor changes to that double-headed arrow, the vertical line, and you can actually hold down the left-hand mouse button and make that column wider or narrower. And that's sometimes necessary, but what we're going to have here, as you can see from this view here, is the data can simply overlap into B1 and later on this next row down into B2, etc., because there's nothing in those cells. So coming back to A2 now, clicking in there, we have sales, January I'm going to leave that deliberate spelling mistake there. Come back to that, and 2000, and put the current year in there. Now, if you do notice that you've got a spelling mistake, simply click back in the cell, and then up here on the formula bar, you can actually click in there, and let's try and get January spelled correctly. January, oops, 1R, and then just simply click back on the spreadsheet for that to enter. Okay, now I'm going to click in cell B4, and I'm going to type January. Now, one of the time-saving things with Excel is that things like consecutive numbers or dates or months like this one here can be entered automatically by the spreadsheet. So notice that I'm going to put my cursor in the bottom right-hand corner. Notice it changes from that big plus sign to a small plus sign. Hold down the left-hand mouse button and simply drag across. Notice how you get these indicators that we're going to have February there, March there, and April there, and then let go. And Excel has automatically put in those months for us. And then total sales. Now these other headings, I'm just going to type in a couple like here. Then I'm going to pause the video, and then we'll come back once I've basically got the rest of the labels in, and we'll have a look at putting the numbers in. Now, as you can see here, I've typed in most of the headings already, and the last one, total sales down here. Now, notice that this total books here, okay, once again seems to be overlapping a little bit, almost overlapping into B10, which is this cell here. Now, later on, we are going to want to put numbers in here. So even at this stage, I'm just going to make that column A a little bit wider. Just a little bit. I don't want to go all the way across to there because you've got all this extra white space in here, which is unnecessary. Just bring it back to about there in this case. Total sales, same thing. Let's just make that column a little wider. Now, we need to put some numbers in, so simply click in, I think in this case, B6, and just start typing the numbers in. The keypad, the numeric keypad on the right-hand part of your keyboard, you might find easier to use when you're typing numbers. Now, one thing I would like you to notice is that inside a cell, notice that this text, these normal numbers, sorry, words, and just notice a spelling mistake there, so let's correct that. Total CDs. Notice that they are on the left-hand side of the cell. So when you start typing text, it's on the left-hand side of the cell. Let me just make that cell really wide. Notice it's on the left-hand side. And if I type numbers and press enter, notice they go to the right-hand side of the cell. So one thing that you need to be aware of is that text is on the left, numbers on the right. Now I'm going to get rid of what's on inside those cells there. Simply click in them, and then you can delete what's there. And then I'm going to make this column back to about the width that it was before. Now your job and my job is going to be to type the other numbers that need to go into here. So I'm going to pause the video again, and then we'll come back once we've got those things in place. Alright, so here we are back again. I've filled in the numbers, and obviously I've got the labels in the right place. So these are called labels, these text stuff here, even though they're headings sometimes, and we've got the numbers in place, and these are called values. Now, one thing which is typically missing, or is missing here, but typically on a spreadsheet, is formulas that are used to do things like adding up or finding averages or things like that, and that's something we're going to put in a little bit later. So at this stage, we should save our spreadsheet. Okay, and what you need to do is to make sure you finish that, And the other thing you need to do is to do a printout of this here and check that these numbers have been typed in correctly. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to put a little tick besides each label and next to each number as you check them on your printout. So you put the printout next to this copy here and you check that the spelling is correct. And if they're spelt correct, you tick it. And each number has been entered correctly. And if it's correct, you tick it. If it's wrong, you correct it. Don't do a new printout. Simply do the one printout, check them, correct any errors as you go. And then at the end, put a little indicator that you've checked everything. Okay, and that is something which I would expect to be handed in, or I will come around and check. But if I don't ask for it, then you need to hand it in as part of your other material to hand in. Okay, so coming back to here, that's that first exercise done. Just make that a bit bigger so you can see it. We've saved it, and now we're moving on to some formatting on the next video.